Namaste. Sit comfortably with your back straight and erect. And let's begin with Devi Kriya. We'll start with chanting 3 Oms with the clear intention of connecting and invoking our higher self and all the divine energies. Now let's invoke all the divine Mahadevis with the Bij mantra. Om Aim 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 Hrim 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 Shrim 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 Clean 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 Namaha. We'll start with phase 1, energizing our chakras. Visualize that a beautiful beam of golden white light is flowing from above, from your higher self, towards your physical body, entering through your crown chakra, and with each step, entering into all your chakras and energizing them. Step 1, energizing third eye pranayam. Put your 2 fingers in between your eyebrows and start from your left nostril. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Relax. Now move your awareness going down towards your heart chakra. See this light entering and energizing it. Hold the Chin Mudra and let us begin. Step 2, energizing heart pranayam. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Relax. Now move your awareness going further down towards your navel area, energizing your third and second chakra. Hold the Dhyan Mudra and let's begin step 3, energizing navel pranayam. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Relax. Now move your awareness further down towards your root chakra and see this light entering and energizing it. You can flatten out your thumbs and let's begin with step 4, energizing root pranayam. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out. Hold, breathe in, Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Relax. Now allow all this light flowing through you to make its way further down from your root, traveling all the way down into the center of Mother Earth and blending with the light inside her core. Now let's chant one more Om and move to phase 2, cleansing our chakras. Now see your higher self pouring down beautiful soul feelings of love, joy, peace, harmony, creativity, abundance, all that you need at this moment. And see it all flowing towards you from above, entering you from your crown. And with every step, see it dissolving and brushing away everything that no longer serves you and replacing it with these beautiful soul feelings. We'll start with step 1, cleansing third eye pranayam or Nadi Shodhan. Relax. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Now let's move to step 2, cleansing heart pranayam or Bhastrika. Relax. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Now move your awareness going further down and see these soul feelings entering your third and second chakra. We'll start with step 3, cleansing navel pranayam or Kapalbhati. finally, let's move our awareness and see these soul feelings moving into your root chakra. Let's do step 4, cleansing root pranayam or root pastrika. Relax. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Now see all these soul feelings moving further down from your root, making their way all the way into the center, the core of Mother Earth. And see Mother Earth absorbing all of this so joyfully. Now let's chant another Om and move to phase 3, harmonizing our chakras. Now see this portal of light from your higher self further expanding, flooding you, entering you from your crown, and with every breath, see yourself becoming lighter and lighter. We'll start with step 1, rhythmic third eye pranayam. Relax, breathe in, breathe out slowly. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Relax. Now let's move to step 2, rhythmic heart pranayam. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out slowly. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now move your awareness further, going down towards your navel area, and see all this light in your third and second chakra. Let's start with step 3, rhythmic navel pranayam. Relax, breathe in, breathe out slowly. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. See all this light entering into your root chakra. We move to step 4, rhythmic root pranayam. Relax, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out slowly. Breathe in, You're in a space of suspended breath, no mind, no breath, and remain in this space for as long as you can, completely empty and silent.
Keep your eyes closed. Stay aware of your breath. Just the gentle awareness of breath brings you deeper and deeper into emptiness, the place where the continuous influence of your mind begins to dissolve. From this emptiness, real wisdom, real miracles are possible. Great wisdom, deep healing, much harmony can be created from this place where you are right now. And this is the place where you are most ready to receive the wisdom. That's why we call these wisdom breath circles. Wisdom flowing from the breath, from the emptiness created from the breath. So visualize your circle we're sitting in with Parvati Ma, with Adi Shakti, and we're sharing the wisdom from 1,000 flowers of love. Stay aware of your breath as we dive into the chapter. Feel as if your breath is listening, your body is listening. You are not making any effort, just in surrender to this emptiness, and from that place you are listening. So we are in chapter 3. Chapter 3 title is Unifying Identities. We've been on a journey with thought aggregates. These are different thought types, aggregates of different thought types. We began with perceptions, then beliefs, then judgments, then we went to expectations, perspectives, intentions, and now identities. The big piece of wisdom that Parvati Ma is sharing, coming from a very high place, is the idea of unification with the divine feminine. The masculine principle individuates, creates separation, and the feminine principle unifies, creates union. So in all of these thought aggregates, there is either a possibility of more division, more divisive beliefs, more divisive perceptions, more divisive expectations, judgments, or there's a possibility of more unification where we begin to see each other, our beliefs, even if they are not the same, they are harmonious. Our judgments are not so against each other. The judgments are lighter. They're more about lifestyle, more about choices in how you want to meditate, things like that. You need judgments. Life cannot exist without judgments, but judgments which are unifying, which create harmony, not judgments against each other. So we've come to unifying identities, and we're talking about that. And identities can also be either divisive, separating humanity into countries, religions, races, separating each other, our families, separating based on social status, economic status, separating based on our ego. I am this, I believe in this, and you believe in that, and just more and more separation. And that separation not only lives outside, it lives within you. When you create the separation, it doesn't go away. When you divide from another, the division comes inside of you because we're all connected. And so, as the mind divides and you live in division, that's a place of fragmentation, no energy. So how can we unify? Not unify in a very superficial sense, but unify deeply, very, very deeply, seeing that we come from the same source. We have the same higher self. We're just playing different roles, but the feelings of the soul are the same. We all know compassion. We all know joy. We all know freedom. We all know peace. We know these things. They are the foundation. And we started falling. We fell from these. And with the first thought, the whole creation came about. And falling into physicality, then souls coming to experience physicality, and this is the place of division. Falling is division, and through learning what you are not, which is this division, realizing what you are not allows what you are to expand to greater heights. So your higher self, with this experience of what you are not, can expand more. So the journey reverses now, and you're going back to unifying identities, more unification. So we were on page 34, and let's continue there. We've already talked about the state of the world with fractured identities, populations supporting their leaders in wars, and ignoring the suffering of populations that are not our countries. It happens to other countries. We've been through that. And the next question I ask is, at a personal level, things are even more complex. On the one end, there are places where gender and race inflict untold suffering on large populations. You know that places even now in Africa, in the Middle East, where just being of the female gender can create a completely different reality for oneself than a male gender. We know all this from different countries. And then I ask, and in other places, social norms now encourage everyone to declare their gender pronouns and identity labels, believing this will create inclusion and equality. Do you know about this? Not so common in India, but places in Europe, in America, it's very common now in meetings for everyone to declare their gender pronouns. I am he, I am him, and you have to actually go around in a circle and say all this. And this is with a good cause. You want to be inclusive, but this is also the other extreme. One extreme is gender simply determines your destiny, like in some countries. And the other extreme is to really go so deep into the gender issues that you are declaring he, she, him, her, to try to respect all genders. And many people don't feel either he or she, they are them, and to respect them. So we have two extremes. One is complete unawareness about gender and exploitation of gender, and the other side is a very politically correct awareness about gender. So then I say, I have personally always preferred to not be seen with any labels and pronouns. I've personally resisted this he, she business. I really do not see and that's because I really do not see myself as either brown or white or Indian or American or he or she or they. I don't believe in any of this, and which is really true about me. I do not like any labels, because any label that you put would limit oneself. But it's politically correct these days to identify, say, I'm a white cisgender female who likes to use the pronoun she and her, and that's politically correct. But look at what that does to you as soon as you say, I'm a white cisgender, meaning one who believes in her biological gender, and white cisgender female identifying that, who uses she and her. This is the reality in America at the moment. When you put all of these labels, what does that do to you? Is your soul white? Is your soul cisgender? Does it have only one gender, or is it androgynous? Androgynous, which is neither, which is both he and she. Like Shiva Shakti is androgynous. So, what is your soul? Does it have this kind of a division of race, of identity, of pronouns? And so I say that I personally always prefer to not be seen with any labels and pronouns, and even though my physical body is born male, my soul, which I see as a much bigger part of my identity, feels androgynous to me. So Parvati Ma says, the goal of the social justice movements that recommend labels and pronouns is to establish equal rights for those marginalized during much of patriarchal human history. Several centuries ago, during the time of one European life, you were born with an intersex body. You also identified as transgender. Your non-binary physical form and unconventional beliefs caused you to lead a solitary life, ending with a sorrowful death, as even your closest family shunned you. This came in a channeling where they showed me a lifetime many centuries ago in Europe, where I was born with a transgender, or you would say intersex body, with parts of both male and female. And in that life, I had much sorrow. So I was surprised to learn this. So I say, "Oh, really?" And she goes on, "Yes. But know that simply giving pronouns and race or gender identity labels to everyone will not solve the marginalization suffered by the minority." So the minority feels marginalized, you know that. In India, especially, we have the Hijras, and in the US and Europe, they have transgender and they have less rights, they have exploitation. And so this conversation about identities is going in that direction. How does one feel when one is neither male or female? What does that do to one's identity, one's existence? And this differs in different countries, and it's really an issue that we should be sensitive about. But the question is about pronouns and labels, which we're discussing. So she goes on, although done with the best of intentions, so that the identities of those who have been silenced or ignored can be seen and honored. So the intention is quite amazing to create pronouns. And she goes on, too much pronoun and gender label energy can create more division at an unconscious level because divisive identities are being invoked again and again. And this is true. So now I'm just going to talk about this a little bit and then we'll continue with her reading. So, as soon as you say, I'm a brown male Indian who identifies with the labels he and him, which would be the politically correct way to say this in a place like United States, what have I done? I've created more division. Every label is dividing. Do children see each other like this? Do 5-year-olds, when they interact, whether it is white, whether it is brown, whether it is any skin color, do they have these ideas? No. Do animals have these ideas? I'm a red cow and you're a white cow? No. So this is a very human way of trying to fix it superficially, and so that's not going to work because it's superficial, it's mental, it does not involve your body, your breath, your soul. Just a mental gymnastic we're doing. So even though intention is good, she goes on, know that the root of suffering can never be solved by the creation of pronouns and labels, but by freeing the human mind from its innate desire for constant approval, approval born out of a deeper fear, the fear of disapproval from one's own tribe, family, or peers who also inherited beliefs born from the patriarchal separation of humanity. So this patriarchy is the one that started everything long ago, before the patriarchal world, which began 5,000 or say 5,002, Lakshmi Ma says 6,500 years ago. Before then, things were pretty matriarchal. Things were where mother was seen, the most important energy, creative energy. Even the name for divinity was closer to mother, not father. Goddess was the word in whatever language you had, but it meant goddess, not God. And then patriarchy came, and in patriarchy, men bonded with each other and they created armies and they invaded nations, and not only they subjugated the other countries, they subjugated women, they subjugated transgender, they exploited gender in a very big way. We know that from the history of many cultures. So, because of that, this whole separation started. And now we want constant approval, approval born out of fear. Will people accept me or not? And that is very, very true for the Hinjra community in India. It is very true. That is there. The separation is extreme compared to Western countries. So that is there. But what we need to do is open our hearts. Just using the mind, going into he, she, Indian, brown, all of that's not going to work. This is a very Western way of dealing with this problem. This is how these books are also very different. The books are about higher levels of consciousness, which are higher than the mind. This pronoun business is just the mind's way of dealing with it. Mind cannot solve the problem that exists at the level of mind. You need higher levels of consciousness. Any problem has to be solved at not the level at which it arose, but at a higher level of consciousness. So one has to use body, breath, one has to use the soul, one has to open up with compassion, love, the soul, feelings, and meditation and higher self. And that is how we can address some of these problems, not just by talking about it with pronouns. So she goes on, she says, know that in the ancient spiritual societies, such as Egypt, gender diversity, which is male, female, non binary, gender diversity was celebrated energetically, creating more love and fullness, and not verbalized mentally, which causes societal division. There were not so many ideas and concepts that the elders entertained about being male versus female in such enlightened cultures. The society was not at all obsessed with gender as modern culture has become. Deep fulfillment through communion with nature and love among people kept all rooted in the joy of oneness. She's talking about ancient Egypt, which is also mentioned in the first book. By the way, ancient Egypt was an amazingly spiritual society. This is many thousands of years ago, before even 5,000 years. This is prehistoric times we're talking about. This was before all the pharaohs started to build pyramids. We don't know about the three big pyramids, which they were not built by pharaohs. They come from much before, according to the goddesses. And there's a lot of evidence of that too. But that Egypt, which was mystical, it was a matriarchal society. And in this society, there was only love. It did not matter so much whether you were male, female, transgender, non binary. It did not matter. And that is what needs to happen. It's not a mind thing, it's a thing of the heart. Our hearts have to open. So, political correctness is not going to just do that. The mind is very clever. It'll say that, but it'll go back to its biases. One has to fundamentally change from within our hearts. And that can happen with meditation. That can happen with breath. That can happen when one reaches to higher levels of consciousness. So then I ask, so in those earlier societies, did individuals not construct their self-image around gender identity so much? And Parvati Ma says, there was simply no need. Even now, I invite you to imagine, who would you be if no one around you ever saw your gender? So even though I'm speaking at a normal pace, I hope you are breathing and listening with your breath in meditation, and ask this question gently: who would you be if no one around you ever saw your gender? Keep this thought deep, because when you were a child, nobody really, it did not matter how people saw you, and you had that freedom. And then people started seeing you as a man or a woman, and if it was neither, then non binary. And what did that do? How did that shape your worldview? So she goes on, if you were seen only as a soul, radiant and whole, who would you be? Stay with this question. Who would you be if people only saw you as a soul, radiant and whole? So, in those sacred times, she's talking about Egypt and those places. In those sacred times, there was immense freedom from gender at every level. And this allowed the multi-dimensional soul to express itself fully without shame, without fear. That effortless freedom of the soul was slowly extinguished with the rise of patriarchy. Select groups of privileged men began to use gender as a tool of control, subjugating women and silencing other genders who had once lived freely. So, this was one of the biggest crimes that happened. As patriarchy spread, men began to bond with each other, creating armies and kingdoms, ruling others, creating slavery, exploiting women, animals, and that's how this whole thing started. So then I ask, it seems that just like many indigenous cultures in North America, ancient India also honored transgender people, especially in spiritual roles. I feel that so much has been lost and distorted over the years. So she says, yes, you are remembering what is ancient and true. Not only North America and India, but all the sacred lands of the world knew and revered the enlightened ones who embodied both the feminine and masculine within them. To many indigenous people, they were like bridges or doorways between the seen and the unseen, between this world and the spirit world. In ancient India, this remembrance was Ardhanarishvara, the sacred union of Shiva and myself in one body. In worshipping us, those of non binary gender did not think they were wrong or needed to fit as one or the other. They were celebrated, honored, and their blessings sought in auspicious occasions because the joy of their spiritual truth was beyond gender. Now, this is so true in, and this is me commenting here, in North America, people who were transgender, many who were neither male or female, they used to be, many of them were spiritual leaders because they could be both. And so they had more perspective. They were honored, unlike what's happened to the world in Kali Yuga. In this, I don't mean Kali Yuga, in this 20th century. Um, and of course, in overall in Kali Yuga, patriarchy has spread. But some countries, some places like North America of say 13th, 14th century before Europeans invaded, they remained somewhat protected from the patriarchy. India had turned patriarchal, China had, Europe had, but North America of 12th, 13th century was mostly a matriarchal society, so it was not affected so much by then. So even though it was Kali Yuga, it was still protected. The effects were not so much. And there they respected the transgender people. And same was in India. Long time ago, it was not, this is more of the recent thing that there's discrimination against transgender people. Long time ago, they were the ones who were celebrated, honored, and their blessings were sought in auspicious occasions. This is true. So then I ask, it is not just non binary gender that the patriarchy oppresses and marginalizes, but it is like all of humanity is currently under a complex pattern of patriarchal subjugation. It has been devastating to watch the world, and especially over the last few years, on all levels socially, economically, and politically. Wherever I turn, I see division. Why is this happening? What can we do? So this is like a big question now because you see the world, you know the world right now. You see what happens every day in politics in India, in America. You know how deeply divided we are at all levels, political, social, economic. So I'm just asking this to the goddess, like not only identities to do with gender, but all kinds of identities, socially, economically, politically. We are so divided. Political parties and economic background, social status, all kinds of things divide us. So she says, what you are witnessing now is not new. It is the reawakening of old, ancient wounds, wounds that were never healed, only buried. These are the karmic scars of humanity rising now to be seen. It begins with a faint fracture, small, often invisible, born from a judgment, belief, expectation, or identity, and the emotions that feed these. One group is wounded, the other reacts. One side claims righteousness, the other becomes defensive. And what could have been a moment of healing becomes a silent war fueled by blame and shame. But the wounds do not stay silent. They express through the collective, growing louder with every generation. They take shape in your divisive politics, in your cultural wars, in your hateful speech, in your painful silence. And soon, the rear view mirror of your past reflects only a deep grudge, while the present unfolds through the path of righteous revenge. The mind, once capable of joy, awe, and insight, becomes a cauldron of emotions, pouring toxicity in your energy field. And this is pretty much the state today. These wounds have been coming from the past, the caste system in India, the separation of whites and blacks in America, the slavery, the gender separation in Europe, witch burning, all kinds of things. This has been going on. This Kali Yuga has been going on for a while. And with each generation, it has increased. And now we are at the intensity. So When you see all kinds of wars and problems in the world, it is also coming from the DNA, from the genetics, from the past, from the soul karma, and it's just intensifying to a very high degree now, and that is why you see so much division in the world. So then I ask, is this toxicity both physical and mental? Yes, and even more, she says. Do you think this is merely human? No. What you call negative energies, ghosts of unresolved pain, demons of rage, beings born of fear, gather where these emotions fester. Now, in this book, in the coming book, third book also, we're also becoming more open to what is not recognized always, which is in the world that we live in. There are angels and Buddhas and gods and goddesses and our ancestors and all the loving beings. But the reality is that there are also negative energies. You may or may not believe in ghosts and demons and these things, but there is existence of negative energies. There are thought forms which are left which are negative in any place where somebody is angry or hateful. And there are spirits, disembodied spirits who are lost. There are demonic energies. Even in Tibetan Buddhism, Padmasambhava goes around Tibet cleaning the whole country of these demonic energies, and he changes them and he makes them dharmapalas. Now, why are we mentioning this? It's because of this. When you live in toxic emotions of hate, anger, of greed, of apathy, when you live in these emotions, what happens? The ego feeds on these emotions, and emotions contain the ego. Your anger has the ego in it. Your greed has ego in it. Your hate has ego in it. So it's both ways. The emotions contain the ego, and ego drives the emotions. Goes both ways. But when this happens, what do you attract? And this is what Parvati was saying. Negative energies are attracted to these toxic emotions. So somebody who's always angry, who's always hateful, and if they have slight psychic imbalance, they can very well be infected with negative energies. But then what happens? That is okay. Many of you may believe in that, many of you may not. It doesn't matter so much. What matters is this, what's coming next. The negative energies, the demonic energies, they do not care who is righteous or who is oppressed. They are drawn only to the density of emotions. This is a very deep point. Suppose you're a good person. You've always lived a very, principled life, and you are moral and you are never corrupt, and you are always valued law and rule and lived your whole life as an honest person. And you see all this negativity around you. People are corrupt, people who don't have shame, and they are greedy and hateful. You see all of this. When you see all of this, let's say you react. You begin to hate the hateful. The people who hate, you begin to hate them. This happens a lot in India, happens a lot in America. There are people who hate the president. In India also, There are people who hate certain political parties, and you may think you are good people, but you just hate the bad people. And the psychic negative energies, whether they are some kind of negative thought forms, entities, whatever they do not care whether you are a good person or a bad person by any logic. All they care about is the emotional toxicity. If you're a good person but angry, you can get infected. You're a good person but you're just very, very angry all the time, you can get infected, because negative energies come where there is emotional toxicity. Where there are soul feelings, compassion, love, joy, freedom, peace, that's where come angels. That's where gods and goddesses live. That's where your great ancestors are. But suppose you don't live with soul feelings, you don't have compassion, you don't have love, you're not surrounded by divinity, and you are living in emotional toxicity, always hating the world, always angry at the world, always in that negativity. Even if you are a good person, you've never done anything wrong, you're a good person, never did anything wrong, but you hate the people who are very negative people in the world. And the wisdom she's sharing is that if you bring those negative emotions in your heart, you're opening yourself up to negative entities. That's the wisdom. And if you go deep, this is why if you see some countries that have really fallen, like United States these days, how bad it has become over there. It's because the good people also have given in to hate. They're hating the bad people. Both sides see each other as good, and they think the other side is bad, and they hate the bad people. This is true in India also, with political parties. There are sides that see each other as bad, and they hate each other. And each side believes they are good. And this is where you open up yourself not to gods, goddesses, and angels. This is opening yourself to the Ravans and the demons, because you are living in negativity. The lesson from this is not so much about being good or bad or right or wrong. The lesson is, do you live with emotions like anger, hate, or do you live with soul feelings like love and joy? So this can be the deepest question. How can I have more love, more joy, more compassion, more peace, more feeling of immense freedom? How can I have that in my life? If I have that in my life, I will join with beings who represent that. I'll connect with Rama, Krishna, Buddha. I'll connect with all of them, all the angels. It just is a different world, a different universe. And there I go and get into my mind and start living in anger because the wrong political party was elected, and I'm very mad and angry, unhappy. What happens? Now you're disconnecting from the divinity and you're attracting negative energies. So this is the wisdom. So I will go back to what she was saying and finish the paragraph. So she goes, these negative energies, she's talking about them, they are drawn only to the density of emotions. And just as Buddha's gods and goddesses are invoked by soul feelings like joy, compassion, and love, these darker forces are magnetized by fear, anger, and hatred. Yes, even very good people, when caught in extreme righteous rage, become receptacles for these negative energies. Even those who once stood for peace may become the vessels of darkness if they hold too tightly to their hate and anger. This is how the law of attraction works through the divisive minds. So this is very deep paragraph. It tells you, it is informing you how important it is to have love, joy, compassion in your life, regardless of all the negativity you see in the world. That, because this world is, we're just being used sometimes. There is a real fight going on between, not fight, but let's say a kind of a not exactly a fight, but it's a process that is occurring between all of the spiritual energies and all of the darker forces. It's Kali Yuga. And this interaction that is happening right now is happening through humans. It's not like that they are fighting against each other. Buddhas don't fight. They just meditate. They're just creating an energy field, and that energy field is going out into the universe and creating peace. On the other hand, demonic energies are also doing their work. Both are, they're not interacting with each other, obviously, because Buddha's fields are so strong nobody can enter there. But they are both entering through humanity. The more people meditate, the Buddhas can come to them, join them. The more people are just angry and shouting and hateful and violent, the demonic energies find the home there. This is what is happening beyond the layers, beyond just what you see. He did this to him and he did that to that person, just the external things that you see. Deeply, you're not seeing the influences. The demonic energy is influencing the negative people who are living with emotions. I don't like to call them right or wrong or positive, negative, good or bad, because that doesn't matter. What matters is whether you have anger. It does not matter whether you're a good person or a bad person. If you have anger and if you just live in anger all the time, you are creating a more negative world, supporting the negative energies. If you can forgive, regardless of your life situation, if you can come to compassion, regardless of your life situation, if you can come to love, joy, all of that, then regardless of your past, even if you were a sinner, whatever, but today you are living with love, compassion, and all of that, you're creating a positive world. That is what is being shared. So then I ask, then what hope do we have? How do we begin to shift this? And Parvati Ma says, begin not with the world, but with the flame in your heart. Wherever you are, whatever your life situation, social or economic status, or political persuasion, engage with the unifying mind with the help of your body, soul, and higher self. A mind unified with higher levels of consciousness cannot be corrupted. Let your mind birth unifying expectations, unifying beliefs, unifying judgments, and unifying identities. Let your heart blossom with soul feelings, compassion that, wait a second, I was reading the text but it is stuck, so we're going on to the next page. it's not moving. Let me go to the hard copy of the book. I think my Word document has gotten frozen. So give me a second. Let me reopen. Our whole computer has gotten frozen, so let us go get the... Okay, we're back. So we were saying, let your heart blossom with soul feelings, compassion that asks for nothing in return, gratitude that moves those you have taken for granted, and forgiveness given even to your enemies by rising above your pain. Even if only a small threshold of humans will ascend into the unifying mind, the tide will turn in a big way. This is what Parvati Ma is saying. She continues, so do not wait for others to change. That is still the divisive mind. Remember unifying mind and divisive mind? So she's saying waiting for others to change is still the divisive mind. Blaming others and caught in the game of right and wrong. That is a divisive mind. But let us no longer play that game. Let us birth a new humanity carrying the unifying mind like a lamp through the darkness. Stand in that light, and the gods will come. The goddesses will gather. The Buddhas will sit beside you in silence. The great unseen rivers of love will flow through you. Know that only a vessel emptied of anger, hatred, and fear can hold the nectar of divine love. This is essential work of our time, not to choose sides, but to hold the whole, not to win arguments, but to become bridges to the soul. Even as the world burns, even as shadows scream, let your breath be steady, your vision wide, your love unshakable. This is how we begin to turn the tide, not with wars, but with prayers of healing, not with weapons, but with flowers of love. This is the power of the unifying mind. So this is a powerful passage, and I'll let you just breathe with it. So then I say, this is also empowering, but how can we allow ourselves to be the change that will not lose hope in this process? To not lose hope, you must fully awaken to the soul purpose that we all have collectively agreed to at this point in time. Do you remember why you chose to incarnate into Kali Yuga? Did you not sign up as a soul traveler before coming here? To come into the darkness not as a punishment but as a pilgrimage? To taste the bitterness of who you are not, so that one day when you rise above the suffering, you may remember who you truly are as a greater, even more divine soul. So now is the time to remember your soul journey once more. Remember the sacred vows you made with billions of other souls before you came here. Remember that there is a great light that awaits you at the end of this darkness, even in the last grip of Kali Yuga. Bring your mind back to oneness through breath, visualizations, and soul feelings. Consider soul feelings as your umbilical cords to the divine. Not for the world out there, but to heal the grief inside. Compassion, not because the scriptures command it, but because you can no longer bear to remain hardened. Gratitude, not for the life you wanted, but for this very moment where breath still comes to you. Forgiveness, not because the other is worthy of it, but because your soul can no longer hold the burden of blame. Each time a human being surrenders the density of the ego to the emptiness of soul feelings, a thread of light is spun into the love grid that surrounds our earth. Each time you return to the unifying mind with joy and love, even for a moment, the collective rises. The earth feels it, the heavens rejoice. A single heart sending out love ripples across continents. You do not need to change the world. You only need to remember the truth of who you are again and again and again. That is how the world will change, not through the justice that you fight for, but through the emptiness, fullness of a luminous mind that will arise from a unifying mind. A unifying mind will become the luminous mind as it remembers your higher self. Namaste. And I say Namaste Parvati ji. So that was the end of chapter 3. And it was a profound chapter that went a bit deep into our political world, our world of identities. Normally, we don't go so deep into that, and we stay just in meditation and breath work. And it's like if you move this stuff around too much, it can become negative, so we don't go so deep into this. But the topic is of identities, and it's necessary to recognize the immense suffering being caused by so many identities. And a lot of us are proud of a lot of things. We're proud to belong to a political party or oppose another political party or belong to a country, belong to a religion. It's very common everyday stuff. And Parvati Ma is saying a lot of this just creates divisive identities. And these divisive identities create emotions, toxicity. All of that attracts negative energies. You're not the only one living here. There are angels and Buddhas and gods and goddesses, but then there are also demonic forces, negative energies. It's Kali Yuga, everything is alive. And the more you get into emotions based on identities, the more you will attract negative energies. And the more you stay surrendered to soul feelings, there's so many of them. It's not like we're just talking one soul feeling. There are 56 of them in the first book. You can have humility, you can have presence, you can have joy, you can have compassion, love, freedom, peace, gratitude, humility, all kinds of things. So if you live in those, in the truth of those, with the help of your body, because just thinking won't get you there, you will need to surrender the mind with the breath. Breathing will get you there. breathing in and breathing out, as some of you are doing right now. Many of you are in that breath process, even as you're listening. If you were able to stay in the breath process as you are listening, the wisdom would go deeper. If you start thinking as I am talking, then it becomes like a ping pong sometimes. You start analyzing too much and the wisdom does not go deep. So if you're breathing, using your body, surrendering to soul feelings, you are already creating a better world. Just complaining a lot about politics and watching TV and going into negativity, that's creating a negative world, and you are contributing to it by becoming an agent that is in those emotions, toxic emotions. The biggest problem the world faces today, even more than environmental pollution, is the pollution of our emotions, toxicity of our emotions. This is the one single biggest problem the world faces. It's not about right or wrong. It's not about good or bad. It's about toxic emotions. So see if through your breath you can come to dissolve your anger. Through your breath, can you dissolve the hate? The hate can be against not family members, it can be against a political leader. This is if you are listening from United States, if you're a Democrat and you hate Donald Trump, look in your heart and see it's the hate that is the problem. Because hundreds of millions of people hating like that creates immense amount of hate. This is psychic pollution. This attracts all the negative energies. This is why the world is falling apart, because the negative energies have become really, they've spread everywhere. How? Because we're living in toxic emotions. We're living in anger all the time. We're hating the world. Even as good people. Everybody can be good, hating the bad. But that's the problem. Because the problem is not good or bad. Problem is the hate. The good hating the bad. The problem is in the word hate. And that's the lesson Parvati Ma is bringing, that rise above the emotional toxicity. Just staying good, being right, being true is not enough. Just being truthful and honest and at the same time being very angry and hateful, that's not enough. The world needs right now is dissolving the anger, the hate, so that more soul feelings, more angelic presence, more divine beings can be with you. And that is how politics and spirituality come together. It's with every human being today, because the politics is so deep that it affects everybody. And each of us has to look at the identities and let go, and use our body and breath and let go, and create a world of love, of divinity. Okay, I'll end it here. Any questions? We can thank the divine beings, Parvati Ma, Adi Shakti, in our circle for a little intense discussion. The chapter went deep into our identities, can honor our identities, but also realize how these identities can either create a divisive mind or a unifying mind. And we can be inspired by Parvati Ma, Adi Shakti, and Lakshmi Ma, and Saraswati Ma, and all the divine beings to create that immensity of love, of forgiveness, of great compassion, to see all our suffering, all desire an end to the suffering. Even negative beings desire an end to their suffering. Compassion that does not limit itself to just good also includes the bad. Unconditional love for everyone. And as we surrender more to these unconditional soul feelings, that is how goddesses are guiding us, will help both at the personal level and in today's world, the world that is falling apart. So thank the goddesses. And now we can take any questions if there are. All good, it seems. Yeah, I think you're in meditation. And so let's play the Devi mantra and then we'll end the session here.
Let us thank all the Mahadevis and the divine energies present, helping, guiding, and protecting us through this Kriya with the heartfelt Devi mantra. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Now let us chant 3 Oms before we can close. Om. You may rub your palms, cup your eyes, and slowly, in the cup of your palms, you may open your eyes and stay in this divine space for as long as you like. Namaste.
Okay, everyone, have a beautiful Sunday. See you next week. Thank you for joining.